Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Bowers. I'm the owner and author at Vervise Outdoor Living, and I also operate this brand new Facebook page, How Then Shall We Homeschool? I wanted to just take a quick minute to introduce myself to you and let you know a little bit more about my philosophy for homeschooling, invite you and welcome you to join me, and hopefully offer just a few quick tips for you moms out there who are new to homeschooling or who are thinking about homeschooling, and you are in the very early years and you have younger children. If you have older children who've been homeschooling for a while, I'm sure this will be helpful to you too, or maybe you'll say, yeah, I agree with that. Maybe you won't agree with it, but stick around. Maybe you'll enjoy it anyway. So first of all, like I said, my name is Amanda Bowers, and I've operated a website online for about 3 years now that's focused on family travel, outdoor living, and most recently I've begun to share more about my homeschool philosophy and how all of those things actually tie together to create an overall educational plan for my children. So I created this particular page because I have a real desire and heart's passion to encourage young moms who want to homeschool and who just feel extremely overwhelmed about it and don't know where to start. I will go ahead and be upfront and give you the disclaimer that I am a Christian. I do operate from a what I would call a Reformed Christian worldview. And so that particular worldview definitely plays a huge part of my educational philosophy. It will be obvious in my language when I speak and write. And so hopefully that will be an encouragement to you and you will enjoy that. But if that's something you're not interested in, or it's just not your cup of tea, then that's okay. I just invite you to unlike the page and move on to a philosophy that better suits your particular worldview. Now that I have that disclaimer out of the way, I began homeschooling my oldest son. My children are 12, 9, almost 9, and 6. I say that I began homeschooling when my son was born because, as you know, as a mother, you pretty much start teaching them right away. How to eat, how to wear clothes, how to walk, how to talk, all of those things happen immediately. But if you want to talk about formal homeschooling, I formally began homeschooling him when he was around 4. That is something I do not any longer agree with, nor do I recommend it. It is not a huge regret in my background, but it certainly is one that I wish I had not done. Even though he was an extremely smart child, he was reading by the age of 3. Looking back, I think there were a lot of more tears than were necessary. And had I had the philosophy that I now have about homeschool, I would have definitely waited a couple more years before I started formal lessons. And so that brings me to why I wanted to talk today. As I've been spending time online and looking through other homeschool groups and trying to get to know other homeschool moms and see where they are, one of the most common things I keep seeing over and over again is, help, I want to homeschool. I don't know where to begin. I'm overwhelmed. What workbooks do I need? What worksheets do I need? What curriculum do I need? Obviously, these are all very common questions, and I'm not surprised at seeing them. But I am a little saddened that I see so many times so many parents thinking they've got to have a workbook, they've got to have curriculum laid out, they have to have all of these things. And we're talking about children that are ages 3, 4, and 5 years of age. And so my number one thing to you, mom, if you have a young child at home, or you have, infants 2, 3, 4 years, and you've got that one that's getting older and he's learning his numbers and he's reading, he's writing, and you're beginning to think about what you need to do for him, is I just want to encourage you to slow down. You'll hear it said to you over and over, and you probably will roll your eyes, as I did sometimes, and think, if one more person tells me to slow down and enjoy my kids while they're young, because we know that. We instinctively know that the time is short, and we know that it's going to run out. And but we also know that we're tired, and it's hard, and we're not getting much sleep, and we're about to pull our hair out. And so it's this really weird time when your children are between 0 and 5 or 6 years of age, where there's this part of you that just wants them to hurry up through this phase because you are stressed out. And then there's this other part of you that knows, no, you don't want them to hurry up and you want to slow down. And so I'm here to encourage you to listen to that voice, even though it's stressful. But along with that, I want to encourage you to give yourself some permission to enjoy your children. And what I mean by that is, if you're like me, you're a planner. I was a planner, and I was very excited about this new child that the Lord had given me. And when I saw how smart and bright he was, I was even more excited. And the school teacher, and I'm not a school teacher, but the teacher in me, the Lord definitely gifted me with a desire to teach. And so the teacher in me was just so excited to start teaching him all of these new and wonderful things about God's world. And I just couldn't wait to get started. And I was going to the bookstores and buying curriculums and sitting down with him and going over his letters and reading to him and trying to get him to memorize scripture. None of those things are bad. But I was drilling my preschooler, and I was sucking the life out of his day and out of my day. And not to mention that by the time he was 4, I had a newborn to nurse and take care of. And then by the time he was 6, I had another one. And he actually became very, very sick at the age of 6. He had a lot of allergy problems that we were dealing with. He had some adrenal problems, and it was a very stressful time. And so here I was trying to do first grade, trying to take care of a 3-year-old who I also thought I needed to be drilling and teaching all the things I had taught her brother, and also trying to feed and take care of a newborn. And I had dabbled into many different philosophies. I had dabbled into Charlotte Mason. I had liked it some, but for various reasons I had walked away from it. I found myself doing kind of an eclectic version of classical. I was piecing together things that I liked from Blue Dorn's Trivium, and I was piecing together pieces from another 1,000 good Christian books online, and The Well-Trained Child, and all of these other things. I was kind of piecing my own thing together. That's kind of my personality. I'm going to do my own thing, and that's fine. I still do my own thing. I don't follow any one particular philosophy to a T, but I was creating this extensive curriculum for my preschooler and my 6-year-old, and I was creating a logistical nightmare for myself. And so one day I looked up from the kitchen sink, and I was barking out orders at my 6-year-old to get something done for school, and I just realized that this was not what I wanted to do. This was not how I had seen homeschool, and it was not how I felt the Lord had called me into homeschooling. And so God began to get my attention and teach me to slow down. He led me to several great books that I read. He brought me back to a community of Charlotte Mason people who I began to talk to a little bit more. During that time, I actually began to read. I listened to an audio book of a book called For the Children's Sake by Susan Schaefer Macaulay, and many people in the Charlotte Mason world will say they entered Charlotte Mason through that book. I listened to this audiobook on a trip that I had. I had an opportunity to get away for a couple of days, took my infant with me, and went away to a Christian retreat with some other women, which was wonderful, by the way. But during that time, I listened to that book, and I really changed completely my philosophy for homeschool. It completely changed me, and it brought me back to what I think was my original desire, which is to raise up my children for the glory of the Lord and to enjoy them and to really enjoy the privilege it was to be able to be home with them. So I would just say to you, Mom, just slow down. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. You don't have to have it all laid out right now. If you just have the idea that you want to homeschool and you're just beginning to research, that's okay. But just slow it down. Take your time and don't add any more pressure to yourself, especially if you have young kids and, little kids at home, and, don't stress about the dishes and the dirty house. And I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but now you can hear it 1,001. I'm just, I'm not a full seasoned mother. I'm seasoning, but I do have 12 years under my belt. And looking back, I did it right a lot of days. There were a lot of days that I did slow down and sit on the couch and read with my kids and enjoy them. But there were a lot of days that I didn't. There were a lot of days that I got a hair that I wasn't getting done enough. I was listening to the voices in my head that were saying, what if they're not ready? What if they're not doing enough? What if I haven't prepared them? What if he can't take a standardized exam because he's never had to? What if? And then I start putting these pressures on myself, and then I put these pressures on my child. And so I just encourage you to not do that, to slow down and enjoy your children and give yourself permission to enjoy your children. Number 2, and this is really how you can slow down and enjoy your children, is just to read excellent books with your kids. Find really good books, the kind of books where the kids are saying, Mom, don't stop. Mom, you can't stop there. Or the books that you remember as a child that really stand out to you. Those are probably living books. They may not always be. Some of my favorite books probably wouldn't qualify for the Charlotte Mason Living Books test. But most of them would. Little House on the Prairie, those sorts of things. And when they're little, especially, I don't necessarily do 5 in a row. I did do it a little bit in those early years when I was creating curriculum for myself. So I don't follow the unit studies in 5 in a row, but the book lists are excellent. So if you don't know what 5 in a row is, I'll put a link in the bottom of the comments here for you. But there's excellent book lists there. Another great book is Honey for the Children's Heart. There's a couple other books, children's favorite love books. So I can't remember the title, but I'll put links in the comments on all of these. But you can find them online too. And there's just so many excellent resources out there for good books for kids of all ages. But just really good ideas, things that they can imagine themselves being in those characters. So Blueberries for Sal, Make Way for Duckling, those kinds of things. Sit on the couch and read those books with your kids and enjoy them. And don't stress about all the things that aren't being done, because they'll get done. There'll be time. You're not going to sit there all day long and read. You'll have time to work on the other things. And if you don't, it doesn't matter. It'll all work out. But you will only have a short time to do this with your children. And I wish I had done it more. And I'm doing it more now, and I did it then, but I didn't do it enough. It's never going to probably be enough. But I just encourage you to not worry about the workbooks and the filling out the forms and having the kid do drills. And don't do that. Just sit on the couch, enjoy your 3, 4, 5-year-old, and read good books with them. Then the next thing is a huge challenge. It is a passion of mine, but it is something that is challenging, and that is go outside and go outside with your children. Don't just send them outside because you're ready to have a break, even though that is very tempting, or at least don't do that all the time. I don't do it successfully as much as I need to, but I certainly do try to make an effort, and I've even rearranged our school schedule this year so that I can have a dedicated morning time outside with my kids once a week, because we have unfortunately reached the age where the afternoon activities are being tied up with music and ballet, and I've joined the gym, so in an effort to help myself. So my afternoons were getting so busy that we weren't making enough time for outside, and so I had to rearrange our schedule a bit so that we could have Wednesday mornings just at a local park to go for, even if it's just 15 or 20 minutes, we're getting out there some. And so this is a challenge. It's something I challenge myself with. I'm having to challenge myself with a lot this year. But when my children were little, we did it a whole lot more. And of course, we travel in a way that we always incorporate the outdoors. We do a lot of hiking and national park activities. But even when you're at home, it's important to try to get outside with the kids every day. Let them play or let them run. And they love this time. If you have a place in your neighborhood where you can just walk in that same area once or twice a week, just for a leisurely stroll, and let them explore throughout the whole year, it's great because they get to see the different seasons and how things change. And, we had a great morning a couple of weeks ago where we just got out and popped acorns and just had a blast. And make sure you take a baggie because the kids are going to be asking you to bring things home. And it's okay if you don't know all the answers and you can't answer all their nature questions. I don't know all the answers because I was public school and I didn't learn all these things in school, but I'm learning it with my children. And again, that goes back to principle number 1, just slow down. It's precept upon precept, day upon day, one day at a time. You'll learn it and they'll learn it by the way, as you go. And that is the best way to homeschool when they're very young. It's just as you go or by the way. Number 4, again, these are all challenges to myself. I am naturally more of a talker and a writer than I am a maker and doer. I'm not a crafty person. So doing handicrafts or doing things that I do with my hands are challenging for me. But it is important, and I think that our kids really see that as a quality time when you do things with them. So even if it's something simple, one of my favorite things to do with my kids when they were really young was just to make Play-Doh. And you can find easy Play-Doh recipes online. Essentially, I used to call it salty biscuit dough. Essentially, it is a recipe for biscuit dough with a whole lot of salt in it. And then you can, of course, color it different colors, but sometimes I would just leave it white and make Play-Doh out of it. and they would play for hours in the afternoons with the Play-Doh, and then we just stick it in a baggie and throw it in the fridge. And that's something that I could make with them. Like, I would let them measure it out, and we would talk about the measurements as we did it. But my daughter now is 8, and so I'm beginning to let her do a little bit of stuff in the kitchen on her own. And her goal is to learn how to make chocolate chip cookies without any help, which she actually is already there. And I just kind of sit in the kitchen nearby and let her do that. But when she was young, of course, it's just letting them do it with you. And it's hard. If you're like me, I'm a type A personality, and I want to take over. I want to do those things for them. And of course, you have to do more when they're little. But as they get older, as they get a little bit more mature and they're doing things on their own, you kind of resist just be close by. You got to let it be okay that there's a mess. And but spend quality time with your kids making things, drawing, coloring, painting, craft. If you're not crafty like me, I give you permission to go to Walmart or wherever and buy one of those little craft kits and make felt Christmas ornaments on the Christmas tree. That's okay too. Kids don't care about how great you do at a craft, especially at this age. It doesn't matter. It's spending the time with them and doing something that's really cool to them, with them as their mom, that means the world to them. And finally, this fifth one, again, very challenging to myself as I say this to you, but something that is really important, and I think that it's important even at a young age, and that is to begin to serve the community with your kids in some way. And when I say community, I even mean at home. One of the things that I want to teach my children is that the Lord has given us a family unit, and within that family unit is a community. And we learn how to serve the world when we learn how to serve each other in our homes first. I've often spoken with Christian sisters, and we talk about how easy it is for us in our marriages and in our children to see our neighbor as the person who's not living in our house. And so we would never speak to our neighbor the way we may speak to our spouse. Or we would never speak to the neighbor's child the way we speak to our own child. And that's really not right. Our children are individual human souls. They've been given to us as a stewardship to the Lord, and we need to treat them the way we would treat our other brothers and sisters in Christ, and we need to teach them to do so. And so I don't say that lecturing you, I say that lecturing me, but it is a principle that is important, and I think you can start at home teaching your children to serve each other and to serve the family and community, but then also, of course, if you're in church or not in church, or you know of things you can do with little kids especially are great, like Operation Christmas Child, those sorts of things. Let them go shopping with you. Find out if there are some elderly people in your church who would appreciate a basket that you could create to take to them. If your children are musical, let them go and sing in the nursing home. The ideas are endless, but I just encourage you to look for some activities you can do with your little ones to serve the community. So anyway, that is my overarching philosophy for homeschool, especially in the early years. And it's not something I have perfected, but it is certainly something that I strive for. And I just hope that you will find encouragement in that way here on this page. Again, just as a recap, slow down, Mom, enjoy those kids. Especially we have the holidays coming. So this is a great time for this speech because we're all ready to kind of take a break anyway, right? So let's slow down, read excellent books to your kids. And I can provide some resources to help you start to find some of those things. Go outside. I know it's cold in a lot of places, but try to get outside with your kids as much as you can and just enjoy them. Spend quality time making things with your kids and spend some time serving the community with your children. And if you will lay those 5 foundations down in your homeschool in these early years, your children will receive a beautiful education. And the Lord will guide you over the years as you go little by little and as the kids age. And I'm certainly going to hope to share with you the resources that I use. And, there are a lot of things that are changing as my kids get older, but there are some go-to resources that I continue to use faithfully that help me in planning curriculum and all those sorts of things. But really, I've challenged myself over the last 3 or 4 years to keep these 5 principles in mind as I think about our school day. And even though I sadly don't have any more little ones to sit on my lap, my youngest still does, but I don't have the little bitty ones. I don't have babies cuddling up in my neck anymore. but I still need to make time. And even my 12-year-old, now he's huge. He can't sit in my lap anymore, unfortunately. But he loves to read. One of the biggest struggles that we have now is that he has reached a point where he does have to go and do some schooling on his own. I mean, he has to leave the morning time routine. And he doesn't like it. So I've had to kind of be creative with our schedule and at least allow some fun books, and not always on, they're younger books per se, but he enjoys them and he wants to be there for them. And we use a lot of audiobooks and stuff too, but they will love that, and that will go with them throughout all of their years, and it will lay a firm foundation for their education later on. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope that was somewhat helpful. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear from you. Let me know where you are in your homeschooling journey, and any questions you might have. And I have no formal reason for doing this other than I just wanted to come on and say hello. Talk to you later. Bye.